The chamber of the Galactic Council thundered with voices. Leaders from hundreds of worlds gathered in the great hall, their colors, shapes, and voices blending into a storm of arrogance and pride. The debate was not about if Earth should be invaded, but how quickly the invasion should begin. At the center of the vast chamber stood the speaker's platform, glowing with pale light. The speaker, a tall crystalline being named Veyrath, raised its multifaceted arms for silence. The voices dimmed, though smug laughter still carried across the curved rows of seats. "Council members," Veyrath announced, his voice like shattering glass, "the vote is before us. The species known as humanity refuses to submit. They build weapons without permission. They ignore our laws. They are dangerous in their independence. And so the question is simple. Shall we invade Earth and bring its people to order?" The words sent a ripple through the hall. The answer was already clear. An insectoid warlord pounded his claw against the railing. "They are weak. Their ships are few. Their fleets are scattered. One cycle of war and they will kneel," a scaled matriarch hissed in agreement. "We have crushed far stronger enemies. Why waste time with a vote? Send the armada. Take their world. Break their spirit." The chamber filled with cheers. To the council, Earth was prey. Small, isolated, and primitive compared to empires that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. But in the shadows of the hall, one figure did not cheer. Elder Koresh, a gray-skinned being whose eyes had seen 100 wars, remained silent. He leaned forward on his staff, his voice cutting through the noise. "You speak as though you know them. But have you faced them in battle? Have you seen how they fight when their backs are against the wall? Humanity is not like others we have conquered." Laughter rolled through the chamber. The insectoid warlord's mandibles clicked in mockery. "You give them too much credit, Koresh. They are fragile. They bleed easily. They will break quickly." Koresh's eyes narrowed. "Fragile, yes. But they endure pain longer than any species I have known. They adapt. They turn weakness into strength. Underestimate them and you will regret it." The chamber ignored him. Pride was louder than wisdom. Veyrath raised his crystalline arms again. "The time for talk is ended. The vote begins. Those in favor of invasion, raise your seals." One by one, glowing seals lifted into the air. First a dozen, then 100. Then nearly the entire chamber shimmered with light. Only Koresh's seal remained dim, resting on the floor beside his staff. "The motion passes," Veyrath declared. "Earth shall be invaded. The fleets will assemble at once. Humanity will be brought to heel." Thunderous applause shook the walls. The decision was final, yet outside the council chamber whispers had already begun. Reports of failed scouting missions were being buried. Entire ships had vanished near Earth's borders. No wreckage, no signals, no survivors. Some said Earth had built weapons that defied the laws of physics. Others claimed the humans had allies hidden in the void. The council dismissed such rumors as fear-mongering, but Koresh knew better. He had studied humanity's history. He had watched their wars from afar. Where others saw chaos and weakness, he saw something different, an unstoppable will. He left the chamber in silence, his warning ignored. The First Fleet moved swiftly. 1,000 warships cut through the void, engines burning like small suns. They were commanded by Admiral Threx, a veteran of countless conquests. He was confident. Victory was certain. Humanity was nothing but prey. From orbit, Earth looked small and blue against the endless black. Threx sneered. "This is the world that dares defy us?" Pathetic. He opened a channel to the council. Glorious council, witness the beginning of humanity's submission. In 1 hour, Earth will kneel. The broadcast spread across the galaxy. Billions watched as the fleet advanced, and then, without warning, the first warship disappeared. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No explosion, no debris, just empty space where a ship had been. "Report." Threx barked. His officers scrambled, eyes wide with panic. "No readings, Admiral. The ship is simply missing." Before the words left his mouth, another ship vanished. Then another. Whole squadrons flickered out of existence, erased in silence. The fleet's comms erupted with fear. "Shields failing? Sensors blind. Something is inside the hull." Screams echoed across the channels, then silence. Ship after ship was consumed by an unseen force. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. Threx stared in horror. Impossible. Nothing can do this. A single human message appeared on his screen, written in simple words. "This is Earth. We do not kneel." The broadcast cut to black. The council chamber erupted in chaos when the transmission reached them. Leaders shouted over one another, their arrogance cracking under the weight of fear. Impossible! Our fleet was unmatched. They must have secret allies. No species can erase ships like that. Only Koresh remained calm. He rose slowly, his staff echoing on the marble floor. His words chilled the chamber into silence. "I warned you. Humanity is not prey. They are hunters. And you have just provoked them." The speaker's crystalline form dimmed with unease. "Then we must send more fleets. Crush them before they grow stronger." Koresh shook his head. "More fleets will not save you. The more you fight them, the stronger they will become. They will adapt. They will learn, and they will make you regret every seal you raised today." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt something they had long forgotten. Fear. But still, arrogance held its grip. Another vote was called. The decision was made to send a second armada, larger than the first. Billions of soldiers prepared for war. The Council told themselves humanity's victory was only luck, only chance, only a trick. Yet Koresh's warning lingered in the air like smoke, and somewhere on Earth, in hidden bases beneath mountains and oceans, humanity's defenders prepared. They had heard the Council's laughter. They had seen the fleets approaching, and they were ready. The broadcast began with triumph. Across the galaxy, billions tuned in as Admiral Threx's second fleet prepared to strike Earth. The Council promised a swift victory. Reporters described it as a formality, nothing more than a show of force to remind the humans of their place in the stars. But the broadcast did not go as planned. The feed showed Earth hanging in the blackness of space, blue oceans glowing, white clouds swirling across continents. The camera shook as the fleet shifted into attack formation, warships spreading out like hunters encircling prey. The voice of Admiral Threx rang with confidence. "Glorious Council, you will witness the fall of humanity today. Their defenses are nothing before our strength. Watch closely, and you will see their surrender." The audience cheered. Council members leaned back in their seats, smug and certain. Then the feed cut to static. For 3 seconds, nothing but a hiss of interference filled the screens. The picture returned, but something was wrong. Ships were missing from the formation. Empty space filled the gaps where whole squadrons had been. Admiral Threx's voice cracked through the comms, stripped of confidence. "This is Fleet Command. We are under attack. Unknown weapons. Unknown vectors. Repeat, unknown." The broadcast cut again. The galaxy leaned closer, unsettled. Was this a technical failure or something more? The feed returned, and this time the viewers heard screaming. Officers shouted over alarms. Red lights flashed across the command bridge. In the background, crew members sprinted between consoles, their faces pale with fear. "They are inside the hull." "I repeat, something is inside the hull." "Shields are useless." "They're cutting through as if..." Static swallowed the rest. The camera jolted. Through the viewport behind Threx, viewers saw something horrifying. Another battleship, larger than a city, simply folded in on itself. Metal bent inward, lights flickered, then it collapsed into nothing, vanishing like smoke. No explosion, no debris. One heartbeat it existed. The next it was gone. Threx spun toward the screen, his face lit by the glow of fire and sparks. His voice was raw with panic now. "Council! Do you hear me? This is not a war. This is extermination. They have power we cannot." The transmission ended. The broadcast did not resume. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Voices crashed against one another like waves. The speaker's crystalline form pulsed with nervous light as leaders shouted in disbelief. They were annihilated. By what? How could humans do this? It must be another empire. Some hidden ally. No primitive world can destroy fleets of that size. But Koresh, the gray-skinned elder, sat in silence. His long fingers tapped the end of his staff. His eyes narrowed. When he finally spoke, his voice cut through the storm. It was not allies. It was not chance. It was humanity. The insectoid warlord from before spat in rage, mandibles clacking. Lies! The humans could never wield such power. Koresh turned slowly toward him. You watched it with your own eyes. Ships erased without fire, without wreckage. Humanity has built weapons beyond your imagination. Or perhaps they have found something older. Either way, the truth remains. They are not prey. The council chamber fell into uneasy silence. Some leaders shifted nervously, claws and talons tapping against the polished stone tables. For the first time, doubt crept into their arrogance. On Earth, the defenders moved silently. Hidden bases beneath mountains lit with blue light. Submarines deep under the oceans carried weapons that could split the sky. Satellites glided above the atmosphere. Their true purpose hidden behind civilian disguises. Commander Elias Ward, leader of the defenders, stood in a reinforced chamber carved from stone. Before him glowed a table of holographic maps, red marks showing the paths of the enemy fleets. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. They thought we would kneel. They thought Earth was unguarded. Now they know better. Around him, men and women in dark uniforms nodded. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were scientists, engineers, veterans, and visionaries, united by a single oath: defend Earth at all costs. One officer spoke. The Second Fleet is broken, Commander, but the Council will not stop. They will send more? Ward's jaw tightened. Then we will show them more. Every fleet they send will be torn apart. Every armada they build will burn. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for survival. That makes us stronger than them. The defenders bowed their heads in silent agreement. Back in the council chamber, denial hardened into rage. Leaders pounded fists, claws, and tendrils against the tables. We cannot allow this insult. Humanity has embarrassed us before the galaxy. They destroyed fleets we spent centuries building. They make us look weak, then crush them with overwhelming force. Gather the entire council armada. Leave nothing of Earth behind. Veyrath, the crystalline speaker, raised his arms for silence. A third vote will decide. Shall we gather the Grand Armada, every ship from every member world, to erase humanity from existence? The chamber filled with light as seals rose into the air once again. This time the vote was nearly unanimous. Only Koresh kept his seal lowered. His voice was weary, filled with sorrow more than anger. Every vote you cast digs your own grave. Humanity is not a world to erase. Humanity is a fire. The more you strike it, the brighter it burns. His warning fell on deaf ears. The vote passed. The Grand Armada would assemble. The galaxy held its breath as news spread. Billions of citizens whispered of Earth with fear and curiosity. Stories spread faster than truth. Some claimed humans commanded invisible fleets. Others believed they had awoken weapons buried beneath their world, relics of a forgotten empire. Still others whispered that humans themselves were not what they seemed, but predators in disguise. On distant colonies, young soldiers asked their commanders in hushed voices, "What if Earth wins?" No one had an answer. Meanwhile, on Earth, the defenders prepared for the storm. Commander Ward walked through the underground halls, speaking to his people. They are coming with everything they have. They believe numbers will win, but we are not fighting in their style. We will not meet them in open battle. We will cut them apart piece by piece until nothing is left. One young soldier asked, "Sir, do you think we can truly win?" Ward stopped. He placed a hand on the soldier's shoulder, his voice steady. Winning does not mean destroying them all. Winning means surviving. Winning means making them fear the name of Earth. And yes, we will win. Above them, the skies of Earth remained calm and blue. Children played in city streets, unaware of the storm gathering beyond the stars. But in the shadows, in the silence of hidden bases, the defenders sharpened their blades. The council had voted. The Grand Armada was coming, but so was humanity's answer. The fire had been lit, and it would not be put out. The message reached Earth like a thunderclap across the void. The Second Fleet of the Council was gone. Not defeated in battle, not damaged, gone. Ships erased from the sky as if the stars themselves had swallowed them whole. The world above looked calm. The sun still burned. The ocean still rolled. Children laughed in the streets, unaware of what had truly happened beyond their blue sky. But beneath the surface of Earth, deep in hidden chambers carved into stone and steel, alarms began to sound. The defenders were waking. The hook came with a voice, sharp and commanding, echoing through a vast underground hall. "Attention! This is Commander Elias Ward. The Council will not stop. They will send their Grand Armada. This is no longer a secret war. This is survival. Every man, every woman, every resource we have must now be prepared. The defenders will rise." The hall filled with sound as hundreds of men and women stood in perfect lines. Their uniforms were plain, dark grey with no decorations, no ranks shown. Each pair of eyes carried the same fire. They were scientists, soldiers, engineers, and strategists. Many had lived their lives in the shadows, waiting for this day. Now the time had come. Ward paced before them, his boots heavy against the steel floor. His face was weathered, his jaw like stone, his eyes burning with purpose. His words were simple, but each one cut deep. The Council thinks we are prey. They think we are weak. They think this world will kneel. They are wrong. They will learn that Earth is not prey. Earth is the predator. We will not bow. We will not break. We will fight. The hall shook with a single reply. Voices rose as one. We will fight. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a chamber the size of a stadium came alive. Massive screens glowed with red and blue lines, showing the movements of fleets across the stars. Engineers rushed between stations, calibrating hidden satellites, activating weapons long buried. On one platform, a massive cylinder began to rise from the floor, steam pouring from its sides. Inside, a weapon slept, sleek black metal lined with blue light, a weapon designed not to match alien technology, but to break it. Its name was simple, the Spear of Earth. A young officer stood before it, her eyes wide. "Is it ready, sir?" Ward's voice was low, steady. "It has been ready for years." The world was not. Now it is. The defenders were not new. They had been born in silence decades earlier, when humanity first caught whispers of alien eyes watching them. Nations had argued, governments had denied, but a small group had chosen to act. They built in secret, hidden from both alien and human eyes, preparing for the day when the stars would bring war. Now their time had come. In the Pacific Ocean, far below the waves, another chamber stirred. A submarine unlike any other rose from its cradle. Its hull was black, coated with a material that bent light itself, making it invisible to most senses. Its name was Leviathan. Captain Hannah Rhee stood on its command deck, hands folded behind her back. Her crew waited in silence, the ocean pressing down on them like a mountain. Rhee's voice carried no fear. "We are the shield beneath the sea. No fleet will cross these waters while Leviathan still breathes. We will strike, and they will never see it coming." Her crew answered with quiet nods. No cheers, no shouts, just the calm determination of those who knew what was at stake. Above, in orbit, satellites awoke from their false disguises. What once looked like communication arrays unfolded into weapons of light and sound. Panels shifted, metal expanded, and Earth's first true defense grid activated. It did not shine or roar. It waited in silence, hidden behind the calm blue sky, its sensors locked on the stars. A signal reached them from the Council. The Grand Armada was coming. Billions of tons of metal and fire were on their way, enough to crush entire worlds. The Council thought numbers alone would break Earth. Ward watched the glowing dots on the holographic map. Red lines stretching from every corner of the galaxy, converging on one small blue world. "They believe this will end quickly," he said. "They are wrong. Every fleet they send is fuel for the fire, but the defenders were not without fear." In a quiet corner of the base, two young recruits spoke in hushed voices. "Do you really think we can stop them? Billions of ships, entire armies? We are only one world." The other recruit stared at the floor. "Maybe we can't, maybe we'll burn, but I'd rather burn fighting than kneel." Their words spread like sparks. The defenders did not fight for conquest or empire. They fought for survival, for families who knew nothing of the war above their heads, for the right to live free in their own sky. That was their strength. Back in the council chamber, arrogance burned brighter than fear. We will crush them. Our Grand Armada will erase their oceans, burn their continents, and shatter their skies. No species can survive such force. But Koresh, the grey-skinned elder, rose once again. His staff echoed across the marble floor. His voice was heavy, carrying the weight of 100 forgotten wars. You do not understand what you are facing. You have seen their power already. Ships vanishing without a sound. Fleets erased in minutes, and yet you continue to laugh. Do you not see? Humanity is not only fighting with weapons, they are fighting with will. And no armada can destroy will. The chamber hissed with contempt. The insectoid warlord leaned forward. You fear them, old one. You would have us kneel to primitives. Koresh's eyes flashed with fire. Better to kneel than to be buried. The chamber roared with fury. But his words lingered in the air long after. On Earth, the final preparations began. In hidden labs, engineers tested weapons that bent sound and light. Tools designed not to match alien shields, but to bypass them entirely. In mountain silos, missiles waited, their tips glowing faintly with strange energy. In deep caverns, vast engines hummed, charging weapons that had never been seen before. Ward stood before the spear of Earth once more, his reflection glowing on its surface. His voice was a whisper, but it carried to every defender in the chamber. This is not the fight we wanted. This is not the war we asked for. But it is the war we will win. Not because we are stronger, not because we are smarter, but because we will never stop fighting. His words spread through hidden speakers across the base. To every submarine crew, every satellite technician, every pilot in the shadows, the same message was heard. We are the defenders, and we will not bow. The sky above Earth turned black, not from clouds, but from ships. The Grand Armada had arrived. Billions of tons of steel and fire blotted out the stars, stretching across the void like a storm that would never end. From the surface, people looked up at the night sky and saw not stars, but shadows moving in silence. The Council had sent everything. Hundreds of species, thousands of fleets, all converging on one small blue planet. The Council chamber had cheered when the vote was cast. Their leaders promised swift victory. They promised that Earth would burn before the week was over, but the defenders were waiting. The hook began with silence. In the command chamber beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Elias Ward stood before a wall of screens. Each showed the Armada drawing closer, their formations tight, their weapons glowing with power. His officers waited for orders, hearts pounding. The weight of the galaxy pressed down on them, billions of lives above, billions of enemies beyond. Ward's voice cut through the silence, strong, steady. Remember what they said. They said we would kneel. They said we would break. Today, we show them what Earth truly is. Not prey, predator. His hand dropped. Activate the grid. High above the planet, the false satellites came alive. What looked like harmless machines unfolded into weapons of light and sound. Panels snapped open, beams of blue energy locked onto the nearest ships. The first volley hit without warning. Council cruisers, massive and proud, turned into twisted wreckage in seconds. Their shields flared, their hulls burned, and then they were gone. Entire squadrons were torn apart before the Armada even realized Earth had fired. Panic flooded their comms. "We are under attack! The humans have defenses in orbit!" Shields. "Collapsing! They are everywhere!" Ward watched from the command screen. His face did not change. They thought we were asleep. Now they wake to fire. But the Armada pressed on. They believed numbers would save them. They believed Earth could not stand against so many. Admiral Zalek, a reptilian warlord commanding one of the main fleets, bared his fangs and roared. "Oh, push forward, overwhelm them, crush the humans beneath our numbers." The Armada surged closer. Millions of ships spread across the black sky, their weapons glowing like suns. They fired. Beams of red and green light streaked toward Earth, cutting through orbit. The defenders answered. From beneath the seas, Leviathan rose. The submarine burst from the waves like a beast from legend, water cascading from its black hull. Its cannons locked onto the descending fleet, and with a low hum, it fired. The ocean itself seemed to roar. Invisible waves of energy struck the armada, and ships crumbled like sandcastles before a storm. Hulls folded, engines tore apart, crews screamed as their vessels imploded, swallowed by silence. Captain Hana Ree stood tall on Leviathan's bridge. Her voice was calm, sharp as a blade. "This ocean belongs to Earth. No fleet will cross it." Her crew answered with fire. Beneath mountains, silos opened. Missiles shot upward, trailing fire into the night. They broke through the atmosphere, splitting into hundreds of smaller warheads. Alien shields flared against the storm, but one by one cracks appeared. Battleships exploded, lighting the void with fire. Above the planet, hidden stations revealed their true purpose. What once looked like communication hubs became weapons. The Spear of Earth fired. A single beam of blue light lanced across the sky, striking a dreadnought larger than a city. Its shields shattered, its core ignited. In seconds, the pride of the Council Armada was gone. Ward's voice echoed through every defender channel. "For every city they threaten, we will take 10 of their ships. For every life they try to steal, we will break their fleets. This is Earth." The Armada faltered. For the first time in centuries, a council fleet broke formation. Commanders shouted, forcing ships back into line, but fear spread faster than orders. On alien homeworlds, billions watched the broadcast. They had expected victory. Instead, they saw fire. They saw the great fleets they had built, fleets they believed unstoppable, torn apart by a single world. In the council chamber, silence reigned. Leaders stared at the screen, mouths dry, eyes wide. The speaker's crystalline body flickered with unease. "This cannot be," Veyrath whispered. "It is impossible." But Koresh, the grey-skinned elder, leaned forward. His voice was steady, quiet, but sharp as a blade. "You call it impossible because you never understood them. This is humanity. You have mocked them. You have underestimated them. Now you see the price of arrogance." In orbit, the battle raged on. The Armada unleashed waves of fire. Earth's skies blazed with color as alien weapons struck the defense grid. Some satellites fell, burning into the atmosphere. Defenders scrambled to replace them. Ships shook, bases trembled, but the line held. Leviathan fired again, erasing another fleet. The Spear of Earth struck, tearing through enemy shields. Missiles rained from the mountains, slicing through formation after formation. Then came the moment that broke the Armada. A human broadcast cut across every channel. Every alien, from the smallest fighter pilot to the highest commander, heard the same voice. "This is Earth. We do not bow. We do not break. Leave our skies or burn in them." The words rolled across the void. A single message, simple and clear, but heavier than any weapon. Panic spread. Some fleets turned and ran. Others fired wildly, breaking formation. Commanders shouted, but their voices were drowned by fear. Admiral Zalik slammed his claws against his console, his scales burning with rage. "Cowards, return to battle. They cannot fight us all." But no one listened. Ships burned around him, human weapons cutting through his armada like fire through dry grass. His eyes widened as the Spear of Earth locked onto his dreadnought. The last thing he saw was blue light. On Earth, the defenders watched the armada collapse. The great fleets of the Council, once symbols of power, were nothing but wreckage burning in orbit. Pieces of ships fell through the atmosphere, streaks of fire across the night sky. People on the surface stared upward, some in awe, some in fear, not knowing if those burning trails were victory or doom. Ward stood in silence, his face unreadable. His officers cheered, but his eyes remained fixed on the stars. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. They will send more, but now the galaxy knows. Earth is not prey. Earth fights back. In the council chamber, silence turned to fear. Leaders who once laughed now whispered. Some looked at their seals with shame. Others demanded explanations. How can this be? They should have fallen already. We cannot show weakness before the colonies. If they see us fail, they will rise against us. Koresh rose once more, his staff striking the floor like thunder. His voice shook the chamber. You wanted war, you mocked warnings, you ignored truth. Now you face the fire you lit. Humanity has shown you what they are. They will not kneel, they will not break. If you continue this war, it will not be Earth that falls. It will be the Council. The chamber fell into chaos. Some shouted for retreat, others demanded more fleets. Pride clashed with fear. The Council, once united in arrogance, now cracked under the weight of its own failure. But far from the chamber, in hidden places across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Colonies spoke of Earth with respect, soldiers spoke of humanity with fear, and in the shadows of distant worlds, rebellions stirred. The Council had wanted to crush Earth to keep the galaxy in line. Instead, they had shown the galaxy that the Council could bleed, and humanity had drawn first blood. The council chamber was no longer silent. It was a storm. Voices clashed against each other, leaders shouting, demanding, accusing. The great crystal dome above them shook as if the building itself could not stand the weight of their fear. News of the defeat over Earth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The once proud fleets of the council had been torn apart. Billions had watched the broadcast of burning ships, their wreckage streaking across Earth's skies. What was supposed to be a show of power had become a lesson in weakness. And the galaxy had noticed. The hook came from a single voice. On the world of Ritheris, a mining colony at the edge of council space, a hollow screen flickered in the center square. Miners with grey dust across their faces stopped their work and stared. The image showed Earth's defenders standing proud, their voices strong. This is Earth. We do not bow. We do not break. Leave our skies or burn in them. The words echoed across the square. A silence fell, heavy and sharp. Then slowly the miners began to cheer, not for Earth, but for themselves. If humans could defy the council, why couldn't they? Across the galaxy, whispers turned into sparks. Colonies, long crushed under council rule, began to dream of freedom. Soldiers in far-off garrisons traded secret looks. Merchants passed coded messages. Rebels who once hid in caves now stepped into the open. The council had built its empire on fear, but fear was breaking. Back on Earth, Commander Ward stood in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Maps of space lit the walls, each glowing with council movements. Fleets regrouped, more armies gathered, but Ward knew what truly mattered. They are afraid, he said, his voice low but certain. And fear spreads faster than fire. If they lose their grip, their empire will crack. General Alvarez frowned, his arms folded tight. Do not mistake cracks for collapse. They will come again, and harder. The council cannot afford to look weak. They will throw everything they have at us. Ward's eyes never left the glowing stars. Yes, but they are not the only ones watching. The galaxy saw what happened. Rebellion is coming, and when it does, Earth cannot stand alone. We must be ready. Far across the stars, rebellion was already burning. On Velos Prime, a world once called the Jewel of the Council, the streets erupted in fire. Citizens stormed armories. Soldiers turned their rifles against their own commanders. The council's banners, once raised high, were ripped down and burned in the city square. The local governor fled, his transport screaming into the sky as the crowd surged forward. On the rooftops, rebels painted the word they had only whispered before: freedom. In the council chamber, reports poured in. One rebellion here, another there. Whole systems declaring independence. Fleets refusing orders. Colonies cutting ties. The Speaker of the Council slammed a clawed hand against the table. This chaos must be crushed. Deploy more fleets. Make examples of them all. But another voice rose, a soft, measured tone. Koresh, the grey-skinned elder, leaned forward, his staff resting against the floor. His eyes glowed with calm fire. You cannot burn every world. You cannot silence every voice. For centuries you ruled through fear, but now they have seen another way. They have seen Earth stand against you, and they are no longer afraid. The chamber erupted again, but this time the fear was different. Leaders looked at one another and saw doubt. Not all of them wanted to fight endless wars. Not all of them wanted to risk the collapse of everything they had built. The Council was fracturing. Back on Earth, the defenders watched these cracks grow. Satellite feeds showed rebellion spreading. Some leaders reached out in secret, sending coded messages to Earth. They wanted help. They wanted advice. They wanted hope. Ward gathered his officers. This is our chance. The Council is wounded. The galaxy is stirring. If we can link with these rebellions, if we can support them, then Earth will not fight alone. General Alvarez slammed his fist on the table. Careful. They could be traps. The Council is clever. They may use these rebels to draw us out. Ward nodded slowly. Perhaps. But even if half are lies, the other half are real. And those voices are rising. We cannot ignore them. In the deep forests of Africa, a hidden training base came alive. Rebels from across the stars were smuggled in under the cover of night. Some had scales, others fur, others skin of strange colors, but all shared the same fire in their eyes. They had come to learn. To fight, to stand as Earth had stood. Sergeant Cole drilled them day and night. His voice roared across the fields. You want freedom? Then you bleed for it. You fight for it. You earn it. The rebels pushed themselves harder than ever before. They knew their worlds were waiting. They knew their people counted on them. And Earth gave them something they had never known before, hope, but hope carried risk. One night, as Ward studied reports in the command center, an urgent alarm cut through the silence. An officer turned, his face pale. Commander, we've intercepted a Council transmission. They know about the training camps. They're sending assassins. Ward's hand clenched. The Council had failed to break Earth from the sky. Now they would try from the shadows. Far across the stars, a team of silent killers prepared. The Council called them shadows. Assassins bred for war, trained to move without sound, to kill without mercy. They were sent to Earth with one mission: destroy the heart of humanity's rebellion. The shadows slipped into the night. They moved like smoke, their armor black against the dark. Their weapons glowed faintly, sharp as death. They landed near the training camps, their eyes fixed on the lights in the forest. But Earth was watching. Sergeant Cole sensed it first. A shift in the air, a silence too deep. He raised his rifle, eyes sharp. Something's out there. The camp went still. Rebels froze, their training forgotten for one breathless moment. Then the shadows struck. They moved faster than thought, blades flashing, rifles spitting silent fire. Rebels fell, crying out in panic. But humanity did not break. Cole roared, charging forward. His rifle barked fire, cutting through the dark. Rebels rallied, remembering their training. They fought back, their fear turning into fury. The night blazed with chaos. Trees shattered, ground burned. Shadows fell one by one, surprised by the ferocity of their prey, but they kept coming. At the command base, Ward's screen lit with alerts. The camp is under attack. Shadows confirmed. Without hesitation, Ward gave the order. Deploy Leviathan. No one touches Earth's allies. Minutes later, the forest exploded. Leviathan's guns tore through the night, blasting the ground with thunder. Shadows scattered, their black armor glowing red as fire consumed them. From the trees, Sergeant Cole stumbled forward, blood on his arm but fire in his eyes. We held. They came for us, but we held. The rebels stood behind him, bruised and bleeding but alive. For the first time, they believed not only in Earth's strength, but in their own. Ward's message spread across the galaxy within hours. The Council sent shadows to strike us. They failed, and they will always fail. Stand, and you will not stand alone. In the Council chamber, rage boiled. The speaker shouted for vengeance. Commanders demanded more fleets, but behind their fury was fear. Every failed strike made Earth stronger. Every failure made rebellion spread. Koresh spoke once more, his voice like steel wrapped in silk. You can crush a planet, but you cannot crush an idea. Humanity has shown the galaxy a truth you tried to bury. That truth is rising now, and no armada will stop it. The Council had wanted to make Earth an example. Instead, Earth had become a spark, and soon that spark would set the galaxy on fire. The sky burned red, not from fire, but from engines. The Council had returned. Across the edge of Earth's atmosphere, a new armada appeared, bigger than the first, stronger. Ships the size of continents, carriers bristling with fighters, dreadnoughts glowing with weapons never before unleashed. The Council had gathered fleets from every corner of their empire. This was not a show of force. This was extermination. On Earth, sirens wailed. Screens lit up in every city, every bunker, every command room. People looked upward and saw death falling from the stars. The Council had been humiliated once. They would not allow it again. In the Rocky Mountain Command Base, Commander Ward stood before the glowing wall of stars. The new armada filled the screens, stretching beyond vision. His officers' voices were sharp with fear. This is more than twice the last fleet. They've brought siege ships. I've never seen that many in one place. Ward's face was carved from stone. His voice was calm, steady. Then this is the storm we've been waiting for. And we will weather it. But inside, even Ward felt the weight. This was no test. This was survival. On the Council flagship, Admiral Ralvek stood at the center of a war room, glowing with crimson light. His armor gleamed black, his eyes burning with fury. He had watched the first fleet burn. He had seen Earth defy the Council, and he had sworn vengeance. This time there will be no mistakes, Ralvek snarled. We strike with everything. Shields raised, siege cannons armed, leave nothing standing. Burn the humans until their ashes drift through space. The officers around him bowed their heads. Fear, not loyalty, bound them. No one dared question him. The second storm was about to fall. The hook struck when the first fire came. The armada opened its weapons. Beams of light rained down, painting the skies in deadly color. Satellites exploded. Defenses cracked. Entire cities shuddered under the assault. On the ground, people screamed as the night turned brighter than day. Families huddled in bunkers, the air shaking with every blast. The Council meant to erase Earth in one strike, but Earth did not bow. From the oceans, Leviathan rose again. Its cannons thundered, firing invisible waves that ripped through the nearest fleet. Dozens of ships twisted and broke, their engines flickering out. In the deserts, railguns hidden beneath the sands rose like giants. Their barrels glowed, then unleashed streaks of fire that cut through the void. Council carriers exploded in blossoms of red, their fighters scattering like insects. Above the planet, the spear of Earth lit once more. Its blue light pierced the skies, striking at the heart of the enemy. A dreadnought screamed as its shields collapsed, its core tearing itself apart. Ward's voice rang through every defender channel. They sent storms to break us, but storms pass. Earth endures. Still, the Council pressed harder. Siege ships, massive as cities, moved into position. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Entire continents were their targets. Admiral Ralvek sneered. Let us see them stand against this. The siege cannons fired. The ground shook as beams larger than mountains struck Earth's defenses. Bunkers collapsed. Railguns shattered. The sky itself seemed to scream. Ward gripped the table, his knuckles white. Report! Shields failing. Grid collapsing in Sector 7. Civilian casualties rising. For a moment, the line broke. The second storm began to tear Earth apart, but in that moment of fire, the galaxy answered. From the dark of space, rebel fleets appeared. Small at first, then larger. Ships painted with broken colors, mismatched designs, but carrying one flag, freedom. They had come from Ritharis, from Velos Prime, from colonies that had risen against the Council. They had come because Earth had lit the spark, and now they came to fight. Their voices crackled over human comms. This is the Free Fleet of Ritharis. Earth, you do not fight alone. This is Velos Prime. We strike for our freedom. Ward's chest swelled, his eyes sharp. Then let the galaxy see. Today we fight together. The rebels hurled themselves into the storm. Their ships, smaller but faster, darted between council formations, striking with fury. Fighters swarmed like hornets, ramming into carriers, setting them aflame. Bombers unleashed payloads that cracked enemy shields. The council was forced to turn, splitting their fire between Earth and the rebels. Their perfect formation wavered. Cracks opened. Ward seized the chance. All batteries, fire everything. The skies lit with thunder. Missiles rose from the mountains. Leviathan roared from the sea. The spear of Earth burned holes through the armada. The second storm, meant to crush, began to falter. On the council flagship, Admiral Ralvek roared in rage. "Hold formation! Do not falter! Crush the rebels, then the humans!" But his officers trembled. "Admiral, the flank is collapsing. We are surrounded." Ralvek's claws scraped the console. He refused to accept it. "I will not fail. Burn them all." His dreadnought turned, its cannons glowing with deadly power. It fired at Earth, a beam that could split a continent, but a rebel carrier intercepted. The ship tore apart in the blast, exploding in light. Its crew gave their lives to block the shot. On Earth, people looked up and saw the flash. They realized the rebels had saved them, and hope burned brighter than fear. The battle raged for hours. The skies filled with wreckage, ships colliding, explosions painting the night. Earth shook with every blast, but the line held. In the forest camps, rebels who had trained on Earth now led fleets in space. Sergeant Cole's students shouted across comms, their voices hard with fire. "For Earth! For freedom!" Ward stood at the center, calm amid chaos. Every order was precise, every strike timed to cut deeper. Slowly, the second storm broke apart. One by one, the council ships fell. At last, only Ralvek's flagship remained, burned, battered, but still alive. Its guns fired wildly, refusing to surrender. Ward gave the order. "Target him!" And this, every cannon turned. Leviathan, the spear, rebel fleets. Together, they unleashed one final strike. Ralvek's flagship erupted in light. The explosion shook the void, a fireball brighter than the sun. The second storm was over. Silence followed. Silence and then cheers. Across Earth, across rebel worlds, across every channel, voices rose in triumph. The Council had sent its greatest storm, and it had failed. Ward looked at the wreckage drifting in space. His voice was steady but heavy with truth. They will come again. They will never stop. But today the galaxy has seen it. Humanity does not fight alone, and the Council will never rule as they once did. In the Council chamber, the silence was darker than death. Leaders stared at the burning wreckage on the screens, their fleets destroyed, their power fading. For the first time they feared not just Earth, they feared the galaxy itself, and in the shadows of rebellion a fire grew brighter. The second storm had passed, but the war for the galaxy was only beginning. The chamber that once ruled the galaxy was no longer filled with pride. It was filled with shouting. The Council had gathered under its crystal dome, the stars shining faintly above them. But those stars felt distant now, cold and uncaring. Reports of defeat echoed through the hall. The second storm had failed. The fleets they trusted were gone. Earth still stood. The rebels were spreading, and the chamber that once spoke with one voice now roared with 1,000. The hook came in a single cry. A governor from the Rimworld slammed his fist on the table. His scales glittered green under the light as he shouted, "My colony has fallen into open rebellion. You promised us protection, yet our fleets are ash. You told us Earth was weak, but Earth has shattered our pride." Another voice rose, high and furious. "You lie. Earth is nothing. These failures are your commander's mistakes." A third shouted louder, "No! It is the Council itself. You promised order. Now you bring chaos." The chamber cracked under the weight of its own fear. At the center of it all, the speaker stood frozen. His crystal body flickered with light, but his voice was thin, trembling. "Order. We must keep order." But no one listened. Admiral Koresh, the elder with grey skin and eyes like iron, struck his staff against the floor. The sound boomed, cutting through the noise. Silence fell for one breath. "You call Earth weak," Koresh said, his voice calm but heavy as stone. yet Earth has broken your fleets. You call rebellion a sickness, yet it spreads faster with each world you burn. You call this council strong, yet all I see is fear. The silence cracked again. Some leaders shouted that Koresh was a traitor. Others demanded he take command. Lines began to form inside the chamber, invisible but sharp. The council was fracturing. While the chamber burned with words, the galaxy burned with fire. On Ritharis, rebels seized control of the mines. On Velos Prime, the council's garrisons surrendered. On half a dozen other worlds, soldiers turned their guns against their own commanders. The rebellion was no longer whispers. It was war, and at the heart of it all, Earth's name was spoken not as prey, not as weak, but as defenders. In the Rocky Mountains, Commander Ward studied the chaos with a cold eye. Hollow screens filled the war room, each showing a different world rising. Armies marching, fleets turning, colonies tearing down the council's banners. General Alvarez stepped beside him, his jaw tight. This is bigger than we imagined. The council is bleeding everywhere. Ward's gaze did not leave the screens. Yes, and bleeding empires lash out. The more they fracture, the more dangerous they become. Do you think they'll break? Alvarez asked. Ward's voice was steady. They already are. But breaking does not mean falling. Not yet. On the council world of Syraxis, betrayal struck. Inside the governor's palace, guards moved through shadowed halls. They were not loyal. They were waiting. And when the council emissary arrived, draped in banners and promises, the guards drew their blades. The emissary fell before he could speak. His blood stained the marble. The governor stepped forward, his eyes burning with defiance. "Tell the galaxy," he said to his people. "Syraxis is free." The message spread across the stars within hours. Another world lost. Another rebellion sparked. Back in the chamber, chaos became rage. One counselor, a towering insectoid with wings that shimmered gold, screeched above the others. "We must crush them all, burn their worlds, salt their skies, make them fear again." Another counselor spat back, "Fear? They no longer fear us. And you would waste what fleets remain, while our homeworlds lie unguarded." The speaker raised his hands, but his voice was drowned. "Please, order, order." No one listened. The council was no longer a council. It was a battlefield of words, knives hidden in shadows. Koresh rose again, his staff slamming down with thunder. His eyes swept across the chamber, sharp and unblinking. "You cannot rule through arrogance any longer," he said. "The galaxy has seen Earth stand. The galaxy has seen your fleets burn. If you continue this war, you will not only lose Earth, you will lose everything." A murmur spread, half fear, half agreement. But before it could grow, Admiral Ralvik's successor, a young warlord named Terix, snarled from across the chamber. "You speak treason, Koresh. You side with the humans. Perhaps it is you who should be purged." Gasps filled the hall. Koresh did not flinch. "I side with survival," he answered, but the line had been drawn. And for the first time, knives were raised not against Earth, but against each other. Far from the chamber, shadows moved. The council had always ruled with assassins, spies, enforcers. But now some of those shadows no longer served. They turned their blades inward, striking at rivals, silencing voices. Whole wings of the palace went dark. Officials vanished in the night. The chamber began to eat itself from within. And in that silence, rebellions grew stronger. On Earth, Ward received a message, hidden in layers of codes. It came from Koresh himself. "Commander Ward," the elder's voice spoke, weary but sharp. "The council fractures. They turn on one another. But know this, fractured things are dangerous. Desperation will drive them to unleash horrors they have long kept locked away. Watch the shadows. The council would rather destroy the galaxy than watch it slip from their grasp." Ward listened in silence. Then he turned to Alvarez. "He's right. They will not go quietly." Alvarez's eyes narrowed. "Then what do we do?" Ward's face hardened. "We prepare for the storm to come. A storm born not of arrogance, but of desperation." In the chamber the storm had already begun. Councillors screamed. Some drew weapons. Security forces rushed in, but even they split along lines of loyalty. The crystal dome shook with the force of the fighting. Sparks lit the air. The speaker, once the voice of unity, fell silent as his body flickered, broken by the chaos he could not control. And Koresh watched his staff steady, his eyes filled with sorrow. He had lived long enough to see empires rise and fall, and he knew he was now watching the fall of another. The fractured council had begun its own death, but death does not fall quietly. Whispers spoke of a hidden fleet, weapons of old wars buried in secret vaults. Some councillors demanded they be unleashed. Others begged they remain sealed. In the chaos, decisions slipped through unchecked. Orders were given in secret. Ships moved in silence. And as Earth watched the council tear itself apart, Ward knew one truth above all. The most dangerous enemy is not the one filled with pride. It is the one with nothing left to lose. The warning came in the dead of night. Every screen in Earth's war room lit up at once. Red signals flared across the skies. Silent codes broke through every channel. Satellites screamed with alerts, and at the heart of it all, Commander Ward saw the truth. The council was making its final move, hooked in one instant. The room filled with frantic voices. "They've activated the dread arcs," shouted a technician, his hands shaking over the console. General Alvarez leaned over his screen, his eyes wide. Impossible. Those ships were myths, but the images burned on the holomap. Enormous shadows moving through the void. Darker than black, their hulls cracked with faint red light. They were older than the council itself. Relics from wars no one dared to remember, and now they were coming for Earth. Ward's jaw tightened. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the weight of what he saw. They are real, and they are coming. No one spoke after that. The room fell into silence, broken only by the low hum of machines. The council was fractured, its fleet scattered, its worlds in rebellion. But like a dying beast, it had reached into its deepest shadow to strike one final blow. If Earth fell here, everything fell. Above Earth, fleets scrambled. The Terran defenders, ragged but hardened by every battle before, rushed to their stations. Their ships were scarred but ready, patched and armed with every weapon humanity had forged. The skies filled with fire as defense platforms powered up. The cities below dimmed as energy was drained into shields. Every soldier, every pilot, every commander knew this was the storm they had been waiting for, and in the silence before battle, Earth held its breath. The dread arcs arrived. They did not glide like ships. They tore into space like wounds. Each one was a mountain adrift in the void, carved of ancient alloy, built with engines that howled like dying stars. Their weapons glowed with forgotten science. There were only 3 of them, but 3 was enough. Across the fleet, fear rippled. Even the most hardened defenders whispered. Ward stood tall in the command center, his face unflinching. Remember this. They come with fear. We meet them with defiance. They come with arrogance. We meet them with unity. Today, Earth does not fall. Today, Earth teaches them why we endure. His words carried across the comms. Soldiers straightened. Pilots steadied. The Defenders' fleet turned as one to face the monsters in the dark. The battle began. The first dread arc opened fire. Its beam carved through the void, a spear of red light. A Terran battleship exploded in silence, shattered into dust. The fleet did not break. They answered with missiles, torpedoes, plasma bursts, all slamming against the Ark's shields. The void shook with fury. But the Ark endured, its armor refusing to yield. The second Ark unleashed swarms of drones, machines of black metal, each one armed like a predator. They descended on Earth's fleet like a storm of locusts. The defenders fought back. Fighters broke into formations, guns blazing, cutting swathes through the swarm. In the chaos, one pilot's scream filled the channel, then another. Yet still they fought, refusing to yield an inch of space. On the ground, the third arc fired. Its cannon struck Earth's shields. The sky lit up as energy flared, cities glowing like suns. The shield held, but cracks spread across it like glass under strain. In bunkers deep below, civilians watched the sky burn. Children clung to their parents, listening to the thunder above. All they could do was wait, pray, and hope the defenders held the line. Ward's voice cut through the fire. Focus on the cracks. Their weapons are old, their armor thick, but nothing is unbreakable. Target their weak points. Bleed them. Admiral Alvarez nodded, barking orders. Squadrons Gamma and Delta dive under their shields. Hit the joints of their engines. Alpha Group with me, we break the drones. This is where we stand. And so they fought, tooth against claw, fire against shadow. But in the chamber of the council, chaos ruled. The councillors had turned on one another, blades and words alike. Yet even as their empire crumbled, the order had been given. The dread arcs had been unleashed. Koresh stood at the edge of the chamber, watching the madness. He had warned them. He had begged them. Now he saw the cost. The galaxy will remember this, he whispered. Not as your triumph, but as your curse. Back in Earth's orbit, the first arc groaned. Its shields flickered. Its hull cracked. The Defender's fleet poured fire into its wound, missiles streaking through the dark. Then it broke. The Ark's core ruptured, exploding in a blaze of red light. The shockwave tore through drones and fighters alike, scattering them into ash. Cheers erupted across Earth's channels, but the victory was short. The second Ark rammed into the fleet. Its bulk crushed 3 ships, its cannons tearing through another wave. The void filled with fire again. Ward clenched his fists. They're desperate. They'll burn everything to drag us with them. Alvarez's voice was hard. Then we burn them first. The battle raged for hours. Every minute another defender fell. Every second another arc roared. The shields above Earth cracked deeper, and then came the moment. The third arc powered its main weapon, energy gathering into a sphere brighter than any sun. The weapon that would end Earth. Ward stared at the screen. He knew what was coming. There was no time for hesitation. Alpha Squadron, he said, his voice cold steel. With me. Alvarez turned sharply. Ward, no, but the commander was already moving. His fighter launched from the bay, engines blazing. Dozens of ships followed him, a spear of light racing into the darkness. The third Ark's weapon ignited. Its energy began to fire, a lance of doom. Ward's squadron struck at that exact second. Their torpedoes ripped into the cannon's core. The Ark screamed, its weapon faltering. The explosion consumed the sky. Ward's ship vanished in the fire. Silence filled the comms. Then the Ark cracked in half, torn apart from within. Its burning remains drifted into the void. The defenders roared. Earth still stood. 2 Arks destroyed. One crippled. The second Ark tried to flee, its engines sparking, but Alvarez rallied the fleet. No mercy. End it. Every gun, every ship, every fighter poured their last fire into the beast. And then, with one final roar, the last dread arc broke apart. The sky was quiet. Earth still stood. The defenders had won. In the ruins of the council chamber, Koresh walked alone. Smoke filled the air. The once proud crystal dome was cracked. The speaker was gone. The councillors dead or fled. The council was no more. The galaxy would no longer bow to arrogance. On Earth, the people poured into the streets. Cheers rose to the stars. The defenders had done the impossible. But in the war room, General Alvarez stood alone, staring at the empty chair where Commander Ward once sat. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. You bought us this victory. Now it is ours to defend. And with those words, the legend of Earth grew. The council had fallen. The galaxy was free, and the defenders would stand ready for whatever came next.